So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be on the Multifaceted AF podcast. I don't know if I could say that, but
Well,
you know.
did. So I want to thank you for being here. You are actually my very first guest.
Oh, I'm honored.
So that is exciting for me. I'm here with Lindsey Briggs. I think what's most meaningful about having you here is the fact that we have history and we've had lots of conversations, we've had lots of sit downs, and you really helped me to find my voice. So I think that bringing that up, bringing that to light as the catalyst for a lot of the conversations that we're having is a really good place to start as you introduced yourself to us. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Lindsey.
Well, thank you for that. That kind of like teared me up as I was, listening. First of all, it's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. Karima, that's how I know you by K, the multifaceted mama.
Yes.
So I'm Lindsey Briggs. I am born and raised in Boston. I'm a mom. I'm a storyteller. I am the storytelling chief and producer of Social You Digital, where I help brands and individuals with passion projects, nonprofit organizations tell their story through video or through copy. And really, it's not just, hey, this is what I do, but just really getting into that depth and history of stories of what makes you who you are and who you're becoming. A lot of times we leave out those, I don't want to say struggling, we leave out those trials and those things that we think that nobody else wants to hear, but in actuality, everyone needs to hear them. Absolutely. Because in this world, we are living in this instant success, or at least that's what it's looking like, or Absolutely. People are portraying, and there's a lot of work, there's a lot of trial, there's a lot of trial and error that you have to figure out. And so I want to give voice to those stories, give voice to those triumphs, and so that they're the blueprint for others, that you're not alone, that people are going through the same things. And every successful person has a story and has a sad story, but also a joyful story.
Absolutely.
At the same time. So that's what I do. That's at the core of what I do. And, being a mom is a big part of my brand. Podcast, also called Vlogcast, with Mommy Mondays, where I talk to a lot of moms who are creatives, business owners like yourself.
Yes.
She was a guest.
Yes.
Kay was a guest as well, a dynamic guest, talking about the Multifaceted Mama brand. And it's just been really great to learn about other moms and like their journeys. I know when I became a mom, it was a transition for me. And that's how I feel like Social You Digital even changed during that time when I became a mom. Because, just becoming a mom, there's no manual for it.
Absolutely.
There is no manual for it. And so when, you're thinking the ideal, or you want things to happen in a timing that they, we want them to happen, but God be like, I'm not working like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not happening like that, and you have to learn some things, and that's honestly what I've learned through this like motherhood journey. It's just like, you don't know everything, you know what I'm saying? There's room for you to develop. There's room for you to grow and even feel comfortable telling your story. And so I get empowered by hearing other women's stories, people's stories, but women. I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman. Absolutely. So I have to own that. And I really like talking to Black women and Black mothers, because I feel like we all have a story, even though different, we can all kind of understand each other.
Absolutely.
So that's a long answer. So yeah.
No, but that's the answer.
Yeah.
So when you think about the idea of being multifaceted, what comes to mind? What does being multifaceted mean to you?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for just going forward with this brand, first of all, because I consider myself multifaceted. Like, I do a lot of things, and it was a point where, okay, so I dance, a creative, I come from a family of singers, born and raised in the church, and so, but acting as well. Even when I was in high school, I did some acting with Emerson, Summer Stage, and, things that kind of still go along with broadcasting and presenting. But at the same time, while I was going through my master's program with broadcast digital journalism, it was more so like, you have to pick this. You can't really do anything creative, or you have to stay on one track. And that kind of always was a struggle for me. Absolutely. Like navigating through that. It's like, okay, well, I have to be professional. Also being on camera, I also struggled a lot with my hair. I like to be artistic with my hair. Mm-hmm. Like I like to show my blackness, like, my hair is my crown. Absolutely. Like, so through becoming a mother, I just really kind of let those walls down, because it's just like, sometimes you're going to be looking a mess. You're not going to be, like, seriously, you're going to be running a business, you're going to be looking a mess, especially when my son was younger, and I just was like, I'm going to embrace, that's when I embraced becoming a dance fitness instructor. Okay. In 2016, it had been a couple years, my son was 2, and I wanted to feel good about myself. And I was at that time really skinny, but I just didn't feel fit or good about myself. Like the confidence wasn't all there, just being strung out as a young mother, not a young mother, but it was all new to me, so I felt like a young mother because I had been single, for so long, and just could kind of do my career thing, going from state to state. And I moved back home with, my mom, and it was just different. But, I really wanted community. I really wanted community with a group of women, and through dance fitness, that was like another avenue. Okay. For community, for sharing stories, and it was another avenue for me to show my multifacetedness, like, because a lot of people know me like, with a camera in my hand, or I'm interviewing somebody, but it was another way for me to see myself in another space. Okay. But also still be able to cultivate this community building, but it wasn't in like a broadcasting type of way. So being multifaceted, I kind of went around, but being multifaceted to me is really just like not caring what people think. Absolutely. As far as like all the things, I feel like there's a stigma with if you do something and you like hop to do something else, and they kind of don't have anything to do with each other. But if you're the right person, you can make all of it work and flow together, and it can make sense for you. Absolutely. So you can't really think about what people are saying about that. And I think that's what multifaceted means to me. Like own the things that you do well. Like own your space of genius, or your spaces of genius, and like know what your purpose is, and like use what that purpose is in all the multifaceted things that you do, not caring about like what other people are saying. Absolutely. Like if I'm hopping around, I'm hopping around, girl. You hopping with me?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about your process for dealing with the struggle of outsiders wanting you to niche down and pick a box. Mm-hmm. What did that look like for you in your professional life and going over into kind of the personal? What was that process like for you?
I feel like I have a few stories with that. Again, I feel like it's been a process of leaning into not caring. Okay. Because as humans, I feel like we could be like, I don't really care, but we really be caring. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We really be caring. Like, we're sensitive, we're emotional. We all have insecurities to some extent, about things, or we might not feel like we're as developed. But a lot of times, like, you just gotta own that and block out the noise. Absolutely. It's like really just blocking out the noise. And sometimes that's hard because, not that people are enemy or like against what you're doing, but you have to have the discernment that, hey, I'm here and I'm called for a purpose. Absolutely. I'm supposed to be in this room for Absolutely. A purpose. I'm supposed to be talking to this person for a purpose. And like, you have to know that God has you wherever you are for
Absolutely.
a reason.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that can be a struggle. Like, I've been on jobs to where it's like, you know, obviously sometimes you want to just do your business full time, but
Definitely.
that's not like realistic. That's not realistic. Like, we live in Boston, Massachusetts, which is like top 5 expensive,
Absolutely.
the most expensive
Absolutely.
place, you know? I'm kind of actually glad for that, because if we're able to navigate here, then we can kind of navigate anywhere,
Definitely.
you know? But at the same time, it's just like,
Bills have to be paid. We gotta pay the bills.
yeah, so
Gotta pay the bills.
it's one of those things, like, you got to do what you got to do, even if you don't want to do it at the same time. And it kind of goes back to, like, everything's not going to be easy. Everything is just not going to be easy. And the more that I embrace that, blocked out the noise, embrace that everything wasn't going to be easy, and that I had to do what I had to do in order to, sometimes you just got to face that struggle, like, or hey, hold yourself accountable. I didn't do what I needed to do in this season of life.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, in these 6 months, I could have been doing or focused on something else. But, you know, that balance of having grace for yourself and, like, holding yourself accountable too, like, because it's all this self-care and, like, do what you need to do, which I 100% agree with, but I feel like there's seasons for everything.
And
as
it's a
well.
balancing act, absolutely a balancing act. That fine line between, like you said, giving yourself grace and making sure that you are holding yourself accountable.
Exactly.
Definitely, definitely.
For sure.
So as you think about kind of in the professional space, I want to talk about representation. You talked about kind of finding yourself and being true to your authentic self in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
What does representation look like for you? Either looking back at examples that you had, or you standing in your authentic self and thinking about what that example looks like for the future?
Representation. First off, representation is needed.
Absolutely.
For us. Like, you know, I feel like, you know, to the visual eye, you need to see somebody that looks like you.
Definitely.
I think that's what creates a comfortability, you know, inside, you know, and then kind of discerning, okay, because you can see somebody that represents the same skin as you, but they're not always as receptive. And that's why I say discernment is a big thing in everything that I do, because you have to really feel out, okay? But representation is also just being approachable to others, and, you know, being willing to tell your story and being willing to share advice and things that you've gone through at the same time, and really giving back. Like, when I think about representation, I think about younger people and the youth, and being a mentor and being a representative for our children, you know what I'm saying, and like how we live. And, you know, for my son, as, you know, as a woman, as a mother, you know, as a mother who is navigating, you know, dating, you know, navigating co-parenting, you know, what does that look like? You know, what does a strong woman look like, and how do I deal with a strong woman, a vulnerable woman, a
Absolutely.
sensitive woman,
Absolutely.
an emotional woman? Because a lot of times we hear strong, and I don't want to shy away from strong, because I feel like strong has its place, but we are also so much more.
Absolutely.
Like, we're so multifaceted with so many different, you know, we exemplify so many things, you know, and it's all beautiful. It's all, being emotional is beautiful for men and women. Being vulnerable is beautiful. Another thing just for motherhood, as my son is getting older, and being a good example and representation, is just being, like, true to my word, you know, and like the smallest things, because I notice he's getting older, and it's just like, but didn't you say? And I'm just like, oh, he's really calling me out on it now. And so I just want to be true to who I am. Like, you know, I talk about being authentic, and I think we sometimes use these words as, you know, they're true, but they also feel good sometimes, and they're filler words.
Absolutely.
But also being intentional, especially in this season of my life, to be, like, really true about what I'm doing, and intentional about being true to my word, and, like, doing, if I'm telling him, like, hey, you gotta be structured, you gotta be on a schedule, like, I need to be doing the same
Absolutely.
thing. And so, like, holding myself accountable. So that, in this season of my life, being a good representer as a parent means a lot to me, and I can do better, as we, all can. There's room for improvement, but that's really what I'm focused on and what it means to me.
So when you think about the work that you're doing with Social U, talk to us about that and the impact that it has had and kind of what the future looks like for Social U.
Social U Digital is and I'll say this too, it started off as just Social U and turned into Social U Digital in 2019 when I moved back to Boston. So it has a plethora of stories, history. I founded, my business, Social U, in Syracuse, New York. I went to Syracuse University, and just like my connections there with media, broadcast journalism, but also just my love for people, community, and social media, and really infusing them together to really make people's stories more visible, but not just visible, but also felt. Like, even if it's just audio, multimedia, like content that really tells, who you are at the core, like who you are, because I feel like when you know who the CEO or the founder is, the innovator is, you kind of know where the business comes from, like who birthed it, you
Absolutely.
know? And so just like there's like a legacy in family, I feel like the founder or the chief CEO definitely sets the precedent for what the brand is going to be and the kind of people who are going to be a part of it. And so I'm kind of like jumping all around, but so when I first started Social U, most of my clients were women business owners. At the time, I was 23, 24. And so I'm 35 now, so it's just like, I was working with women business owners who were just like busy on the go, making 7 figures or more, and just they didn't know anything about social media at the time because it was kind of new for brands, coming out. And so I would just kind of do their community management for their social media profiles, and also infusing, little video spots, like, why did you start what you're doing? Just kind of getting at the core of, take me to a place where it was just like, it was the hardest for you to, see your business through or see your business thrive. And those are the kinds of questions where you get the real meat of who a person is and who a brand is. And I feel like through those questions, the people that are being interviewed and the business owners, they even have a clearer understanding of what they're doing, why they're doing it, and it's refreshing just to hear their own stories out loud. And so they're able to really own their message, and I find great honor in that and seeing that transformation. And kind of like you said,
that's what I was gonna say.
How you opened it up, I was just like, oh, she said it right there. That's the transformation that I love to hear.
There's an amazing amount of impact that comes with that. So I actually went through that process with you.
Yes.
A couple times.
Yeah.
Because I think the first time you had me on, it was the round table, the like conversation right leading up to Thanksgiving. It was a bunch of different mothers.
Yep.
And it was a safe space for me because I wasn't the only one. So it took a while for me to get out and kind of find my voice.
Yeah.
So it was conversation style. It was a few of us. So creating that platform, I think, was amazing as like a soft launch. But then having me on Mommy Mondays, and then me kind of leveraging you. So your multiple skill sets, calling on you to help facilitate conversations for Sister Circle as a part of the nonprofit that I had started. So that was way back when.
She did a lot. She was doing. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
But I think more recently, you having me on the Mommy Monday.
For sure.
Right before Mother's Day, 2020.
Yeah.
And it was kind of
long ago.
It was a long time ago, but it was
not.
exactly. So I remember Multifaceted Mama being at its infancy very early on. We had done the Black Fathers Matter kind of big splash, but was still kind of grounding and trying to find our legs, find the legs for the brand. And sitting down on a couch very similar to this one.
Yes, for sure.
And having a conversation.
I just gotta say that, you know what I'm saying? You gotta give it where it's at. This is much nicer.
So sitting down and having this conversation, but it really was an opportunity for you to ask those questions And for me, as the face of the brand, the owner of the brand, kind of the person behind the brand, to answer those questions, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of talk through the meaning, and really give that story and provide that backstory about the brand,
For sure.
which opened up my eyes as the business owner, and really forced me to step outside of my comfort zone, to share the stories. And I think that it had an amazing amount of impact.
For sure.
I know I still use snippets of that that recording on a regular basis. I know I still rewatch that recording on a regular basis. I really enjoyed it. So I think there's an amazing amount of impact that comes from the work that you do. So I just want to make sure that you know that. You know how impactful it is.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I appreciate that. And I'm so thankful for this space to where I can hear that. Like, even on, you never know what people are going through and what they like have faced for the day, for the week. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that this was even timely, this interview. I was looking forward to it. There was a lot of things that were happening, but I definitely looking forward to it. And I like pressed my way because I was just like, this is gonna uplift me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that as women and as mothers and just people, humanity, we have to lean into what makes us better.
Absolutely.
Like what makes us feel good, the energy that makes us feel good, and what's gonna make us better. And I knew that coming here would make me feel better, and that, and just sharing in community and space.
No, I appreciate that.
So.
I appreciate that.
Of course.
I think we've always had this relationship of like iron sharpens iron.
For sure.
Definitely bouncing ideas off of each other. So I'm very honored to have you in my space.
Yes.
As a guest. So yes.
It's beautiful. Y'all see the pillows? I just want to see. This is the first thing that I saw, so I was just like, okay, y'all see the pillows. They're nice and comfy too. So I'm just saying, if you're multifaceted, and most of us are, hit them.
Yes. Okay, so you know how I feel about the affirmation card deck.
Oh yes.
So we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to let you pull a card, and then we're going to talk through the response to whatever you find on the card. So you're gonna pull.
Okay.
Okay, you want to read it?
Okay. I am constantly attracting the right circumstances at just the right time.
So do you want to talk through what that means for you?
Woo! Well, I mean, I don't mean to be, spiritual, spiritualize everything, but I mean, when it's a part of you, it's just a part of you. So you got to let it show and shine. Let me, I just want to, did I put it down? I just want to.
There you go.
Okay. So when, God works everything together for the good.
Absolutely.
Everything together for the good. Everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the uncomfortable,
Absolutely.
And like I kind of mentioned before, it might not always feel good. Everything is not going to be easy, but that's part of the process. Like, as long as you're constantly moving and constantly flowing and navigating, you're going to be learning, So something that you're facing that may not be easy, or circumstances that are very, very hard, and you're just asking, like, why is this happening to me right now? It's those times that really make you,
Absolutely.
And like, as far as me, even in this season, I talked about, being more intentional with, parenting and representing for Avery, but also, just representing for God as well, and taking that a little bit more seriously. Sometimes I feel like when you grow up in the church, there's certain things that so you're just kind of like, okay, I know this, but actually really owning it, and, at my older age, there are certain things I'm just like, now I get it. Like, I get it. Mm-hmm. Like, I would not be here if it weren't for God. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And I think every time I go through a situation or circumstance where I'm like, what's happening? How am I going to get out of this? I learn so much, and then I look back and I'm like,
makes sense.
I can definitely take or, navigate through and press through whatever is coming my way, because Absolutely. I've been through that. And so that's like kind of what this means to me. I'm constantly attracting the right circumstances at just the right time. And sometimes we pick up people and opportunities during that bad time that we don't even know. And when we come out of it, we're like, the people that we met dang, they're like a part of our new season. So I just think that you just have to be open, even when circumstances aren't flowing ideally how you like them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I
To
appreciate
me.
that.
Of course.
Okay. And as we wrap up, thinking about the idea of celebrating what it means to be multifaceted, what is one way that you choose to celebrate your authenticity as you kind of navigate everyday life?
What's one way that I choose? I feel like there's a plethora of ways. But no, just talking to myself, affirming myself. I think we all could do more of that. There's always these doubtful voices and doubtful thoughts, you know, that we have to combat with prayer and affirming ourselves. Like, if you don't believe it, nobody else is going to believe it, you know? And if you don't believe it, that's going to show up in your action or lack of action. And so I think, you know, getting up, looking at yourself in the mirror, or just writing it down in a journal, like, I'm shit. like
it's
for
true.
real, you know. And sometimes I don't come off being like, hey, I'm the shit, or, you know, but sometimes you have to do that for your own quiet time so that you can show up. I am a reserved person. I'm an extrovert / introvert, but I'm solid. I know who I am at the same time. And so, but you know, you got to do that inner self-development work before you go out to the world, and that's what I do. I affirm myself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Of course.